We're going to go ahead and get started. So just to tell you a little bit more about our schedule, we do want to run this train on time and have you out of here by 11:30. And the way we hope to accomplish that is we have two 30-minute speakers. And then at the very end, so we're going to hear from Arun just momentarily. We'll hear from Rick right after that. Just as Rick closes, we're going to have our business meeting for people who are members of the organization. You're welcome to stay. It will be very brief. We're going to approve the minutes from the last annual meeting, get a report from the nominating committee for our directors, vote on that, and we'll adjourn. So it won't be a long business meeting, but we are required by our bylaws to do that. And when we get there, I'll explain that as well. So thank you again for being with us. We did find out for the people on Zoom, for some reason, the traveling microphone is not picking up on Zoom. So when we do Q&A going forward, we're going to repeat the question. So we'll try to, for those of you listening online. And if I didn't mention to the rest of the group, we have more people online. In fact, at least double the number of people online that we have here. So we appreciate everybody participating in whatever way you're able to do that. So those of you who've been following passenger rail service in Wisconsin have certainly probably heard our next speaker in the past, but he's in a new role. So Arun Rau was the passenger rail implementation manager at Wisconsin DOT for many years. Very well respected, one of the people that are responsible for WisDOT being so successful at getting grants, building his passenger rail program through different administrations, building ridership. And he was so sought after that when Amtrak looked at how are we going to expand our services, they approached Arun and offered him a job of director of network development for the central part of the country. So that's his role now as of a few months ago, actually last summer, I think. So we're going to turn it over to him. And would you join me in welcoming Arun Rau from Amtrak?
All right. Well, it is great to be here back in Eau Claire. The last time I was here, I was working for WisDOT for Lisa. Lisa was my boss, and so Ismail and I came into town last night, and we drove around downtown Eau Claire, looking at all the new development, and it is amazing what's going on here, and we just need an Amtrak station. And, you know, I would have loved to come here in the safety and comfort of an Amtrak train, but we made it okay through the snow on I-94 last night. All right. Okay. Obviously, we've talked about the infrastructure bill that passed in November of 2021, which provides $66 billion in passenger and freight rail investments over 5 years. There is some of that is going to Amtrak, as has been said before, 22 billion over 5 years to improve our existing access, upgrade our equipment, et cetera. But a lot of the funding that's going for corridor expansion is going through competitive discretionary grant programs administered by the FRA and going to the states. And now if by some miracle we can get this video to work, I don't think it's going to work for the people on Zoom, but at least for the people in the room, just to give Amtrak's perspective on the infrastructure bill. Yeah. right.
All right. No, it's,
No.
I may have to stop share. Yeah,
All right, technical. Okay. Then. It's at least.
Yeah.
Oh, no, now I gotta see myself on camera.
no, we're getting your slide presentation back up, Michael.
So go to.
I gotta share here, so. And
Okay, go to the slideshow.
oh, I think,
Yes,
right,
open it.
okay. But I think,
And, okay, you want. Back up.
okay, yeah, that didn't seem to,
So
oh, just-
go to his PowerPoint.
yeah, I'll bring that back up. Sure.
Right, it's over here. Oh,
No,
that's-
yeah, we'll have to,
okay,
yeah.
All right,
yeah.
now, pull this down, past the video. I think you went too far. Here's the video.
Oh.
No, that's the video here. right?
Yeah.
So this one, click on that one. And
Okay.
then start it here.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
This is really weird. Let's see. Okay,
I think YouTube is.
yeah, YouTube is kind of playing games with us here,
Oh.
so.
Close it and reopen.
Okay,
See if YouTube's still there.
okay,
Okay, go here.
all right.
Double click on that. And
Okay,
then pull it, go past the video right there. Click on that.
this, yeah, right,
Is that past the video? Yep.
yeah,
Okay. And that,
I got it. Yeah, yeah, Moses just,
here we go. All right.
all right,
I don't think you're sharing. Oh.
no, all right. Just bear with us for everyone that's on Zoom here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Go to share screen first on Zoom.
Yeah.
And then choose your PowerPoint and then do that.
This mouse is okay. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Thank you. Our top priorities coming out of COVID and in the wake of the infrastructure bill is to rebuild the business first by rebuilding our workforce, resuming suspended services and getting equipment back on the road to meet capacity and service needs. And we're doing that right now. We brought back services this month. We're also modernizing our assets, bringing 100-plus-year-old bridges and tunnels to modern standards, and improving and expanding the network through partnerships with state and local governments, host railroads, and the U.S. DOT. To be successful in rebuilding and growing the national rail system, we are going to need even more people. And for the first time in decades, Amtrak has the opportunity to really invest and grow its workforce. And so, we employ over 18,200 employees, and we've hired more than 2,800 this fiscal year. That number is actually higher now, and are recruiting well over 1,000 positions right now. We're investing in the fleet, replacing the 20th century fleet with modern trains to transform the customer experience. This includes new intercity train sets, which are going to be used in the on some state-supported services in the state of Washington and states in the East Coast, and replace the Northeast Corridor regional trains with new Siemens Aero equipment that you can see now renderings of online. New charger locomotives for long distance services. They are being introduced gradually, and modifications are being made as to address any growing pains that are happening with the rollout of that. And then new Acela fleet coming online, I believe later this year or early next year, for the Northeast Corridor. And then state acquired venture cars, which Wisconsin is part of that. Venture cars are made by Siemens out in California with made from components from all over the US. And they are going to be They are being put in service now to replace existing Amtrak equipment on all the Midwest state-supported routes. And then long distance equipment. You may have seen in the news recently the announcement that we started the procurement for replacing the long distance fleet. But we're not waiting for that. That's going to take years to complete that procurement and get delivery. We are still in the process of refreshing all of the long distance equipment interiors. Oops, skipped one. And then we're investing in stations, both large and small, in small rural communities in New York with Monahan Train Hall, Philadelphia, Chicago, Baltimore, and Washington, and coordinating major development projects in and around these stations to maximize commercial and transportation revenues. And we're investing in accessibility with ADA station investments benefiting all passengers. And this is a priority for Amtrak at existing stations. We've invested well over now $560 million to date, building 103 stations into full ADA compliance. 1.2 billion in planned investments. We're on track to meet for 100% ADA compliance by 2028. We're also investing in sustainability with our recent pledge for net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2045 through technology advances and investments through all parts of the company, pushing the development of zero emission equipment and company-wide resilience program with a goal of improving safety for all users, reducing the carbon footprint, in addition to encouraging mode shift, which has benefits in and of themselves. And we're investing in Wisconsin, $5 million towards improvements on CP rail to the state-led implementation of the Twin Cities Milwaukee-Chicago service, which will be coming online this year. $2 million towards expansion of the Milwaukee Airport Rail Station. $8 million towards Muskego Yard Freight Pass of Milwaukee Intermodal Station, which will add capacity for additional train service in Wisconsin. And then ADA improvements at all of the Wisconsin stations. And a few updates from Wisconsin on the Wisconsin side of things. Again, the TCMC service expected in mid-2023. Would love to see a shuttle service from Eau Claire to Toma Station as part of that when that goes to daily service. WISDOT's Milwaukee Airport Rail Station, second platform construction. Major improvements at Columbus and La Crosse and Toma stations, including rebuilding construction of new platforms. I think Toma is scheduled for this year for a new platform and signage program, and then operation of the new state-owned Siemens equipment. In 2021, leading up to congressional debates on the infrastructure bill, Amtrak released the Amtrak Connects Us plan, which was Amtrak's vision for what Amtrak determined could be achieved with greatly expanded federal intercity passenger rail funding. The vision was just a starting point. There are other corridors across the country that have progressed and are feasible, and we're excited to work with states to advance new and improved corridors through FRA's Corridor ID program. This past year, we've already had service expansion with the Berkshire Flyer in Massachusetts, the second Roanoke train in Virginia, third Norfolk train in Virginia, which have exceeded ridership expectations just right out of the gate. Same with the Ethan Allen extension up to Burlington, Vermont. And we have a fourth Piedmont train, which is between Charlotte and Raleigh, North Carolina, coming online this spring. That's very exciting. And then the twin TCMC in mid-2023 and Gulf Coast service this year between Mobile, Alabama, and New Orleans. So the process for passenger rail funding in the IIJA, we've talked about the FRA Corridor ID program a lot. That's the main vehicle to get in the pipeline to go through the process of service planning, environmental clearance, and teeing it up for final design and construction. a lot of expression of interest from Wisconsin submitted to FRA, which was fantastic from the communities, Pewaukee, Watertown, Eau Claire, and Green Bay. And I'll just say that, while the preference is for the states, to do this and the funding to come through the states, this is really, to make this happen, this is really going to take robust community involvement, local involvement, and business community involvement and outreach and advocacy for this to really get through the process. So that's why those EOIs from these communities are so important, and staying involved with the business community, the legislature, the state DOT, everybody, to make sure that these things are moving forward is very important right now, with the corridor ID applications due on March 20th. So you've heard a lot about corridor ID, and rather than ramble on more about it, I'm going to give you a quiz. This will count towards your final grade. Who can tell me when corridor ID applications are due? Yes, thank you. And who would we like to submit the corridor ID applications? Yes, with that. And why is it important to get a corridor in through this round of corridor ID? Yeah, yes, exactly. $500,000, yep. Okay, good. I think we're good on corridor ID. Oops. So now we're going to get to the Midwest here. So improving and expanding services in the Midwest. The Midwest is part of a mega region that has a GDP that is greater than many European countries and one of the highest GDP regions of the world. And it's extremely important. It's not to have strong transportation connections. Unfortunately, we have challenges with transportation connections in this part of the country, as well as other parts of the country. But we can hopefully get on a path to improve that here with the infrastructure bill and expansion of intercity passenger rail. We want to double or triple down on frequencies where we have service today, add more communities. We're working with our partners to serve more communities right now: Columbus, Ohio, Louisville, Kentucky, Madison, Green Bay, Eau Claire. We're advancing Chicago Union Station redevelopment and adding capacity in the Chicago area so it can handle all of these additional services. And well, a little bit more about that. We have the Chicago Hub Improvement Program, which really is important to anything coming through Chicago. So if for future Eau Claire service, this is critical to make sure that we have enough capacity in Chicago Union Station for these future services. So getting to Amtrak Connects Us and Wisconsin opportunities. We're very interested, along with the state, in looking at increasing Hiawatha service frequencies between Chicago and Milwaukee, first to 8 and then to 10 round trips daily. In and of itself, that has the ridership and revenue and financials to make that something of independent utility that can be successful by itself. However, it is also critical for expansion to other parts of the state. Because then we have more, the Hiawatha is sort of like a tree trunk and everything else is branches going out. And so we have more services to extend, more slots to extend to other parts of the state on that busy Milwaukee, Chicago part of the corridor. Extending 4 round trip Hiawathas to Waukesha County, Watertown, and Madison. That has it's just a very high ridership and revenue and very feasible. And then implementation of a second TCMC potentially via Eau Claire, pending agreements with UP between Camp Douglas and St. Paul, and completion of necessary railroad improvements on that stretch. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. It also could be on the existing TCMC corridor for that second TCMC, and then it may be the next one that goes through Eau Claire, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. extending 3 Hiawatha frequencies to Green Bay, the Fox Valley and Green Bay, implementing the Northern Lights Express between Minneapolis, Superior, and Duluth, and making sure that that's connected to the TCMC. And that's something that's being submitted by Minnesota in the Corridor ID program and has really gained a lot of steam in the past few months in the legislature in Minnesota. And then extending, as I mentioned, TCMC trains from St. Paul to Minneapolis is very important so that we have an integrated network and we're enabling the TCMC service to be as successful as it can be. Wisconsin passenger and freight rail can benefit from the $66 billion investment right now, as we talked about Corridor ID, but also the FRA's CRISI grant program, which funds a lot of passenger rail projects, and that passenger rail and freight. And the next round will be fall of 2023. This last round was applications were submitted in early December. And we have the upcoming FRA federal state partnership program for intercity passenger rail. This will be the last round of that grant program before the Corridor ID program is set up and in place. And those applications are due on March 7th. And then, of course, there's the US DOT RAISE program, which has provided a lot of opportunities for communities across the country to do station work, preparing for stations. And then the US DOT MEGA grant program. So everybody, I'm sure here is interested in a future second TCMC and how the Amtrak CP agreement relates to that. The Amtrak CP agreement was executed about a year ago as part of the CPKCS merger case in front of the STB. The agreement says that CP Rail will permit a second daily TCMC on the CP corridor. CP corridor going all the way from the state line, Milwaukee, up to Toma, and then on the existing TCMC route. That's pending completion of TCMC improvements in La Crosse, La Crescent, and Winona, and a process to determine any additional improvements and commitment of funding for any additional improvements, and then a 60-day written notice from Amtrak that we would start operating that. For the potential Eau Claire alignment, if that second TCMC we were to pursue going through Eau Claire, this CP agreement addresses from Milwaukee to Camp Douglas, but then at Camp Douglas, the train would then have to divert onto the UP corridor here, going through Eau Claire and into St. Paul. And that, of course, requires coordination with UP and any necessary improvements on the UP. So with that, we are excited to work with our partners to deliver the new era of rail. Engaging with the communities is very important to us. Really having a community presence in the stations we serve and the communities that we will serve in the future. Unlike other transportation companies of other modes, Amtrak is very community focused, and so we look forward to working with you and hope to be serving Eau Claire in the not too distant future. And we can take questions.
You can repeat any questions.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and hopefully Arun will be around for a little bit when we're finished. So we're running right on time now. We actually had a little pad in our schedule, I guess. So we'll get finished on time.